So this month's German pack is basically the Montessori small grammar farm. The first activity within the pack is the 3-part cards, which are in the envelope with this label here, nomina, nouns. In this set you have the cards with the animal on, the noun, and the label is attached to it. And then you have just the pictures and just the label cards separately. Then you've also got some plural cards and some der, die, das cards. You won't need those ones to begin with. So the first activity is just matching up the pictures to the right one. And once all the pictures are matched up, they can then match up the labels to each of them. That's just to practice learning the words. When they do this activity the second time round, or when they feel more confident, they can then use just the picture cards and try to match up the words from memory. And then when they've finished matching them up, they can use the larger card to check their answers to see if they've got it right. So the next activity using the same set of cards is to practice remembering whether the words are der, die or das words. There are 3 ways to say the in German, der, die and das. Der is the masculine one, die is feminine and das is neuter. So they take their pile of animal cards and they try to remember whether the word is der, die or das. So Katze, would it be der Katze, die Katze or das Katze? And they put it where they think it would go. And they do this for all of the animals in the pack, and then afterwards they would use the control cards again just to check. So it's die Katze, have they got it in the right column? So that's to help them learn whether the words are der, die and das, which is particularly important for this set of activities. There's an extra game in the set to help the children to practice knowing whether the words are masculine, feminine and neuter, der, die or das, and it's in the packet that says auf dem Bauernhof. These are like the spares, and you should find the game rock, paper, scissors. Which in German is der Stein, das Papier and die Schere. And the symbols are the usual symbols for the game: rock, paper and scissors. Most children are familiar with this game. So they can play this a few times round just by saying the actual symbol that they want to choose. For example, they can go 1, 2, 3, los, die Schere, der Stein, and then the stone wins. So they can say ich habe gewonnen, or du hast gewonnen, I've won, or you've won. And that's practicing these words with der Stein, das Papier and die Schere. When they've practiced that enough times to be confident with knowing that Stein, der Stein, rock is masculine, so that's going to be all the der words. Das Papier is neuter, and die Schere is feminine. Then they can then play with this set of cards. So one child takes the first card and it's Kuh, and they have to remember that it's die Kuh, so they would do the symbol for scissors because it's die Schere. And the next child takes one and they have Huhn, and it's das Huhn, and so they're going to do the paper symbol. So scissors cut the paper, so the person with die Kuh has won that round. So they take the card, they see whether it's a der, die or das, they do the symbol for the game, and whoever has the winning symbol wins the card. The first time they play it, they could play using these cards, taking one of those so that they still have the word written on there to help them. If they feel confident, then they can use these ones and they need to remember whether the words are der, die or das. And this is quite a fun game for them. And once they get the hang of it, they can actually use this kind of game for any. They can use the rock, paper, scissors activity with any of the sets of vocabulary that they have, or any of the, particularly the noun sets, so that they can learn whether each word is der, die or das. So they can go back to words they've learnt before or words that they're going to learn in the future and use the rock, paper, scissors game to help them memorise those. The next one we're going to look at in the pack is Der kleine Bauernhof, the small farm or the small grammar farm. And the first one, you want to make sure that you use the singular version of this. So in the pack there are the animal cards. They're the same pictures as the ones on the 3-part cards. You can cut a slit in here and make it stand up. Put another piece of card going through that way and make them stand up if you want to, so you've got like a 3D image. I'm just going to use them flat on the table because it's better for the camera. So they would spread these out on their workspace. I'm just going to put a few of them out. And then in the pack you also have a set of verbs, nouns, articles and adjectives. So the first time you use this, they're just going to do the nouns. So this is very similar to the 3-part cards that they did, and they'll be able to just match the words with the correct animal. We'll just have those 3 showing at the top. Can't see those ones. Then the next time they do the activity, they start with the animals, but they can then add on the correct article. So whether it's going to be der, die or das. And then they need to work with the packet that says Adjektive, adjectives. This is a simple matching activity, so you have the German words on one side, the English on the other. So klein is small, nett is kind, and they just work through and match up all of the cards. So müde is tired. Some of them they'll know, some of them might be new for them, and they can practice with these a few times before returning on another occasion to the grammar farm. So the next time they come back to the grammar farm, they would first of all lay out all the animals, then they would take the pile of nouns and lay out all the noun cards, and then they would take the adjectives because they know the adjectives now. And when they're working with these, they should notice that they do look slightly different. So here they learnt that klein was small, but now when they're using these adjectives, they'll notice that there's an E on the end of each one. So klein in this phrase will become kleine. And that's because in German, the adjectives have to take the correct adjective ending according to the case. So these don't have a right or wrong where they go, it's just where the children would like to put them. So kleine, small. Which animal am I going to describe as small? I might want to say that the dog is small. Sad, traurige, maybe. And frohe Schaf, happy sheep. And then they go back to the set of articles and put those in front. So they've got die traurige Ziege, der kleine Hund und das frohe Schaf. And the next one to do is the packet that says Verben, the verbs. And again, you've just got a simple matching activity with the German words on the left and the English words on the right. These are the infinitives. So we've got laufen, to run, schwimmen, to swim, etc. Again, some of these they will know, some they'll be able to guess, and some might be new for them. Sitzen, to sit. Then the next time when they go back to the small grammar farm, they again start with laying out the animals, then they lay out all of the nouns to match, then they lay the adjectives, choosing which animal they want to describe with which adjective, and then they put the article at the front. So that's all the part they've done before, and then the new part is to add the verbs onto the end. And again, they'll notice that there's a slight difference in these verbs, because the ones from this set are the infinitive, stehen, and here we've got the third person singular, steht. So that one is to stand, and that one is stands. So die traurige Ziege steht, the sad goat stands. Der kleine Hund bellt, the small dog barks. Das frohe Schaf springt, the happy sheep jumps. They then go back to the three-part card activity. They will be very familiar by now with the meanings of each animal, but this time they're going to want to focus on the plural. So the plural is written in brackets after the word. The hyphen there, or the dash, indicates the word itself, and then it shows you what to add on. So this one shows you that to make the plural you add n. So die Ziege, die Ziegen. Ziegen is goats and Ziege is goat. This one here, das Huhn, becomes Hühner. So, and this here shows us that the word will have umlaut on it. So the U here will have umlaut on it, and then it will have ER on the end. So Huhn will become Hühner. Die Kuh, again we're going to add an E, but we're also going to add umlaut to the U. Die Kühe. And das Schaf will become die Schafe. So they're just matching up the words like they did before, but they're paying special attention to have a look at what the plural endings will be. So what the plural forms are. And again, they use the control cards just to check if they've got it right. Then in that pack they have these cards which have the four different plural forms for the animals that are in the pack. So we've got just adding an N, adding umlaut and an E, just an E and umlaut and ER. So they'll take the cards, similar to how they did with the der, die, das ones. So we've got Ziege, and they decide whether the plural of Ziege is going to be Ziegen, or here with an umlaut, which wouldn't work with this anyway. Adding another E, or adding umlaut and ER. So they have a think about what they think the plural might be for it. And they lay them out under the corresponding column, and then they use the three-part card control cards to check if they've got them in the right column. So this one, to make the plural, you add N. So they've put it in this column here. We then go on to the next set, which says the small farm, or small grammar farm in plural, and for this one we're going to need the pieces that are in there, but also the animals from the singular farm. So they again start with the animals and lay out all the animals. This time there's two of each because we're working on the plural forms. So they're going to lay out the animals in pairs in their workspace. And then, just like they did with the small grammar farm, they're going to start with labelling the animals using the nouns. So, and these are of course the plural nouns this time. So we've got Ziegen, Hunde, and Schafe. So that's all they do the first time they use this activity, and then next time they would start with laying out the animals, then they would lay out all of the nouns again, and then they would add on one of the chosen adjectives. So they'll know what these adjectives mean already, but they might spot that these ones, instead of just ending in E, like they did in the singular pack, they all end in en. So we might have müden Ziegen, kleinen Hunde, and weichen Schafe. And then they add on the articles, and hopefully they'll notice that the articles are all exactly the same. They are all D. So there's no choice there. We just put D in front of all of them. So the plural form of the in German is always D. If it's singular, it could be der, die, or das, but if it's plural, it's always D. And then, so we're now up to the third time they've used this activity. Then the fourth time they use it, they can add on the verbs. The verbs this time end in en because the animals are plural, so we're using third person plural. So die müden Ziegen stehen, the tired goats are standing. Die kleinen Hunde, schlafen, the small dogs are sleeping, or the small dogs sleep. And die weichen Schafe springen, the soft sheep jump. Up till now, most of the activities have been helping the children to practice the vocabulary that they know for the nouns and the adjectives and the verbs, and using them in lots of different ways. And hopefully they're noticing the changes in the grammar and being able to recognise them and kind of know that they're going to come up. This last activity is to stretch those who are really ready to take the next step in understanding how they can actually use the adjective endings when they're making their own sentences. So this might come much later, might come a year or so later, depending on how fast your child is working through all of this. So we're back to using the pieces from the small grammar farm. We're not going to use the verbs this time, we're just going to make a phrase about the horse. So we're going to describe this horse in the way we did before. So we get the word horse, we choose an adjective and the correct article. So das frohe Pferd, the happy horse. And we could, if we wanted a verb on the end, we could put a verb on the end there. Das frohe Pferd steht, the happy horse is standing. Now, if your child knows a little bit about grammar or has worked with the Montessori sentence analysis, they'll know that the horse here, the happy horse, is the subject of the sentence. And in German, the subject is in the nominative case. Now, if we change our sentence and we use this card, so this card, the Ich sehe card, is in the packet that says Auf dem Bahnhof on, that's just got like the spares in there. So if I want to say I see the happy horse, I is now the subject, which is in the nominative case, and the happy horse is now the direct object, which in German means that it's going to be in the accusative case, and it means that the endings will need to change. So you can show them this card. This is the nominative case and this is the accusative case. So we have here, Pferd is a neuter word, it's a das word, so it's das Pferd. So if it's in nominative, that we have like this, das, and the adjective has an E on the end, das frohe Pferd, the happy horse. But if we change it to the accusative, I see the happy horse, okay, we need to look along here and we can see it's the same for this one. So they can say, I see the happy horse. Ich sehe das frohe Pferd. Now, if we choose, so that was a neuter word. If we choose to describe the cow, we can say das kleine Kuh, the small cow. Das kleine Kuh läuft, the small cow is running. This is in the nominative case because the small cow is the subject of the sentence. And we can see we've got the, so this is now feminine, and we've got D, and we've got an E on the end of the adjective. Oh, sorry, I should have the D there, there we go. So die kleine Kuh. Now if we're changing, if we want to say I see the small cow, we can check again on here. So this is now going to be accusative because the small cow is now the direct object of the sentence. So we can look here, and again it's still D and there's still an E on the end here. So there's no change. We can leave that one the same. And now we're going to use the dog, which is a masculine word. So we want to say the fast dog runs, der schnelle Hund läuft. And again, the dog is currently in the nominative case because it's the subject. The dog is the one that's doing the running. And we have a masculine noun, so it's der. And we have an E on the end of the adjective, so it's der schnelle. Now, if we put the dog into the direct object position, so it now says I see the fast dog, it's now going to be in the accusative. So if we look down the masculine column for the accusative, we can see a change. It's den, and the ending for the adjective is en. So here we've got der. I need to swap it for the den card, which was also in this packet. So der changes to den, and kleine changes to kleinen. So schnelle needs to change to schnellen, and of course the card with schnellen on the end is going to be found in the plural pack that you had. So they'll need to work together with both packs to be able to find the correct words. So now we've got Ich sehe den schnellen Hund. And again, this is quite advanced, so I would expect a child who's been learning German for quite a long time to be working on this and looking at the differences of the endings. Then they can go on to make some sentences that are in the plural as well. So if I have two dogs, I need to change läuft to laufen, because that's the plural form, that's the third person plural. I need to change the den to D, because it's always D when it's plural. And this is in the nominative now. So we're in the nominative because this is the subject, it's plural, so it's D, and the ending is en. So it's die schnellen, and we need to change for the plural form of the word dog as well. So die schnellen Hunde laufen, the fast dogs are running. And then if you want to say that you see the fast dogs, now the dogs are the direct object, so they need to be in the accusative case. So you look along the accusative case for the plural, and it's still D, and it still has en, so there's no change there. Ich sehe die schnellen Hunde. So once your child has practiced quite a lot with this activity, you could then get them to maybe draw some animals in their books and write their own sentences to go with it, remembering to use the card to check the endings that are needed for each different animal or set of animals that they are choosing to talk about.